Hello, welcome to another edition of Strange New Pod. I'm your Fleet Admiral and host, Julian Brown, alongside the best bridge crew. I have Commander MC and Sub-Commander Giraffe with me tonight. Hawk will be by a little bit later to talk about and review Prodigy episodes 15 and 16, Ascension. But for right now, we are going to put the focus on the two amazing guests you have on your view screens right now. We are so thrilled to welcome, first off, DS9's very own Jadzia Dax. Terry Farrell, welcome. And
thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. And Captain Freeman of the USS Cerrito, lower decks. Dawnn Lewis is here. Welcome.
Hi, my pleasure.
It is just an absolute privilege to have you both and to have you on to be talking about such an important subject coming up this November. I want to get right to it here. You guys, on October 3rd is the Women of Star Trek for Kamala Call that's going to be hosted by the legendary Stacey Abrams, which is just incredible.
Yeah. And Cory Booker.
Oh, and Cory Booker's hosting too. Okay, cool. I did not know that.
He is. Yes, he is.
That's
love
fantastic.
His voice.
He's got a great voice.
Yeah, I mean, what he has to say, I follow him, and he's inspirational.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good man.
Absolutely. Yeah. A star-studded lineup coming up on this call, right? We have the both of you, obviously. Jerry Ryan, Denise Crosby, Nana Visitor, Michelle Hurd, Gates McFadden, and just too many to list. It's going to be just an incredible call. I want to start by asking the both of you, what your reaction has been over the past few weeks. It's been a couple of months now at this point since President Biden stepped down and Kamala Harris received the nomination, the Democratic nomination. Seeing just all of these amazing fundraiser calls pop up. I mean, I was shook. It was amazing how quick everybody mobilized. I believe it started with Black women for Harris, and then Black men for Harris, white women for Harris, white dudes for Harris, and then most recently this week, Geeks for Harris, which raised over $500,000, which is just incredible. I want to just get both of your reactions to seeing, all of these calls pop up and how just amazing this has been.
Go for it, Terry.
Go for it. Okay. Well, when it first happened, I felt so proud of Joe Biden for finally stepping down and making way for a new generation. But when I held my breath, because it was like, please let the delegates all get behind her right away. And then when everything kind of splashed, it was like, yes. I mean, it's so fantastic. The history she has, her legacy of being a senator, a district attorney, what's the other one? Attorney General for California.
Attorney General. Yep.
Thank you. And Vice President. So, wow, there has never been another president who's had this much history of experience.
Or vice president. Or vice president. No president or vice president has had that level.
There you go.
Yeah.
So when people say, well, she's not qualified, I'm like, I don't think you're thinking with your brain.
No.
Twice as good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of the legacy for women.
Yes.
And people of color. You can't be as good as, you have to be twice as good or better than just to get anywhere near equal consideration. I've been watching VP's Harris since she was here representing the state of California on so many different levels. She's a woman of her word. She's a woman of conviction. She's a woman with a proven track record, and all the while maintaining this spirit of hopefulness, this spirit of, I want to do the right thing, the right way, for the right reasons, and leave people feeling empowered. Not everybody's going to be happy about this choice because it's going to end up cutting some folks in the knees. But some folks right now need to be cut in the knees to try to level the playing field. And that's what she has always stood for. I was really fortunate to have kind of one-on-one time with her, although it was me and about 6 of my castmates. I did a series called Different World.
Yeah. Wow.
90s. And we have been going around to colleges, empowering young people, speaking the voice of what it is to be your best self and invest in your best future. So while we were in Washington, D.C., we went to VP Harris's alma mater, Howard University. So she says, y'all have got to come and visit me. So she booted everyone out of her office in the White House, and all 6 of us sat with her in her office for about 20 minutes. And she couldn't have been more candid. She couldn't have been more approachable. And then a number of weeks later, she invited me back for Juneteenth. And then just a couple of weeks after that, here we are. She goes from being the most powerful woman in this country,
yes,
poised to being the most powerful woman on the planet. And up until this point, as the vice president, she has engaged with foreign leaders, with foreign countries. She has laid the groundwork to say, we are going to do things differently, or we are going to do things better. And we are here to work with you to make this planet, this one little planet that we all have to share, like it or not, a better place for all of us. We're going to create equity. We are going to create inclusion. We are going to allow people to be seen and seen legally, not because you have to jump through hoops and scream for your rights and say, this is what a woman wants to do with her body. You're a man. Okay, let me not go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
You can. Just saying.
You know what? Okay, I'm gonna tell you, I'm from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. So sometimes things come out of my mouth that are just like, hey.
I'm from Queens. I get it.
So there you go. Okay. So I don't need a man in a suit in an office that I will never visit, that I will never meet or ever see tell me what to do with my ovaries. Never.
Ever.
Not me, not
Ever.
my sister, not my daughter, not my niece, not my godchild, not the young lady I will never ever meet who deserves to make her own choices. What is that about?
And how about live?
Yes.
Just survive. There's so many women that have already died, even since Kamala was. Yes. And it's awful.
It's time to do something different. It's time to do something different. And I believe once she announced, the country recognized that. The country saw that. And that's why I believe the response was so enthusiastic, while the response was all encompassing. You named some of the groups that had calls. The one that threw me over was Republicans for Kamala.
Yes, there was that one as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Wild.
because don't you think they miss having an actual Republican, not a cult leader?
Yeah.
That, and we can survive. They might not like it, but they're going to survive a Harris-Walz presidency. But we are not going to survive a Trump-Vance presidency.
Right.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Our democracy will not be saved. Everything we know, care about, love, the way of life that we're used to, and that we have been privileged in this world to have. It used to be a melting pot. When I grew up in the 60s, it was like, you're really proud to be American, and it was the melting pot, and we should be proud of each other's differences. And maybe that's because I was in the foreign exchange student program. I got a scholarship to go to Mexico because my parents didn't have money to send me. And it's like every kid should have that opportunity to go see another culture and understand that that's what we are here, is a big melting pot of a bunch of different cultures. And it should be easy to welcome people here and make it safe for them to be here and for it to be new. That's terrifying, to leave some place you don't feel safe, to come here to have a better life, and then to be treated like, I wouldn't even say an animal. That's even worse. It's just to be treated like you're less than human is completely out of line and isn't American. It is not my America.
It's true. And the fact of the matter is, there's only one group of people that is actually indigenous to this country. Everyone else is an immigrant. Everybody.
Everyone.
A plane, a train, crawling through the desert sands. Everyone is an immigrant. So for one group of people to determine that they have more of a right to be here, more of a right to benefit from the from the graces of what it is to live on this particular continent is just absurd. Project 2025 takes us back generations of legalized slavery, legalized atrocities, legalized ignorances, legalized systems solely designed to oppress and suppress groups of people that don't look like one particular group of people. And that's not my passion. That's not my feelings. That's not my impression. That's what you read. That's what they have actually written down. And the people who get so twisted up and want to point fingers and call names, it's like, okay, we are not 5 years old. Okay, stop it. Stop. Okay, you're entitled to your opinion, but stop it. That's just foolishness. If you really want to know, then listen to what is actually being said to you. Listen to what is actually being demonstrated to you. Someone who looks you in the face and says to you, this will be the last election you will ever need to have if you vote for me. Really? And why is that? Because I will do away with elections and I will be here until I am no longer red and no longer blonde.
Yep.
And it's
and then you've stripped us of our voice.
To your face.
Right.
To your face. This is being said. DEI, they're talking about you. What makes you think they're not talking about you? That's anyway.
And when Kamala says turn the page, it in her presence, period, just makes me feel like this is our chance for real equality. Because she is a Black woman, because she is of Indian descent too. She is a first generation immigrant, right? Her mom,
yes,
and her dad, both. So it's like reawakening the American dream is what she's doing. That's what it feels like to me, anyway.
Yeah.
She
checks a lot of boxes.
She does.
Positive boxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how about looking forward to a positive future instead of these people that are just full of vitriol and hate? There's so much rage and I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I can't help but feel like they're racist because it's what else are you? I don't understand what you're fighting against with our vision of a positive future for everyone.
It's racism. It's 1000% racism.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yep, it is.
It's the Proud Boys. It's his Ku Klux Klan. I mean, this is terrifying. I don't understand why it doesn't terrify more people. I don't understand why the race is so close. I don't understand.
I'm a Jew, and I had a run-in with the Proud Boys, and it was absolutely terrifying. So yeah, it is just racist.
God.
So I totally get it.
Yeah.
We should all feel safe.
Yep.
Yeah.
We should.
Mm-hmm.
MC.
So I mean, so much of this question has already been answered by you guys speaking so passionately about Kamala, but even with all of the excitement and the record-breaking fundraising, there are still people who are undecided or even, of course, leaning towards the other guy. So if you could say like one thing, like this is the most vitally important thing about Kamala being the next president of the United States, what would it be?
I think, first of all, people have to really understand how government actually works. Just because you're the president doesn't mean you have carte blanche to pass all kinds of laws, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We really have to be mindful of the rest of the government, all of the branches that need to work together in order to move the country forward in a positive way. So when you are thinking about who you want to vote for president, start there. And listen to what is being told to you. Listen to what the vision is. Listen to what the practical and tangible steps are to get from point A to point B. VP Harris has given us a blueprint. She's already pointed to what she's already done. Gun-led legislature. I don't understand a single human being that does not want a safer environment for their children. Why does any private citizen need to own an automatic weapon that can shoot 60 bullets in less than a minute. What are you hunting? And if you need 60 bullets to kill anything, you should not be hunting. You're a very bad hunter. Okay? You're a very bad hunter. Okay? Gun legislature. All kinds of repealing acts for our economy, for our immigration policy. However, all of those things can be put on the table if we don't do our part to vote down the ticket that we know will support and push through. So when someone says, on one hand, we take pride in the fact that we blocked this bill and the Republicans, we kept this from going through, and we hate the fact that we killed that bill and killed that opportunity. And then are the same people who turn around and say, well, how come she didn't do this? And how come she didn't do that? It's like, well, which is it? Are you proud that you're the one that blocked it? Or are you going to have an issue with the fact that she wasn't going to make it happen because you blocked it? So which is it? You're trying to hold her accountable for something that you yourself admit that you made it impossible for her to accomplish. Yet look at what she accomplished in spite of all the nonsense. You can only imagine what could have been done in the Biden-Harris presidency if they didn't have to deal with all of the foolishness.
If we had the House and Senate.
Yeah.
If we had the House and Senate. So, ergo, my shirt, LOVE, let one vote emerge. Let one voice emerge. We have to vote down the ticket so that the voice of humanity, the voice of decency, the voice of democracy is empowered to actually make the changes that we say we want to have in this country.
I just want to say real quick, everything you said about gun legislation. I mean, every time there's a school shooting or mass shooting and I have to take my kids to school the next day, I am terrified. I mean, like I've been in the car.
I work at a school.
Yeah, you work at a school. Jeff works at school. I've been in the car crying. I've seen other parents crying when these things happen. It is something that absolutely just needs to be taken care of in the next year.
When Max was at Santa Monica High School, we lived in an apartment that was 3 blocks away from Santa Monica, and that high school is enormous. There are over 3,000 students.
Wow.
One day he texted me from school and said, Mom, you have to call the office and get me a pass to come home. And it was only a couple hours into school. I said, why? Naturally, I'm his mother. And he said, there's a kid here with a gun. I'm on it. We talked from when he left school to coming home. This kid had mental issues. And I was lucky my son came home. But every day sending him after that, just the size of that school and the police presence that they try to have to keep it safe. And I'm in Santa Monica, California. It's supposed to be safe. It's a really good school, but it was just terrifying to live through. And I can't, I'm so sad my son had to live through that generation. He's in college now, but I still worry like he's in college. He's in a small liberal arts college. It's just, I got to worry like my nieces and nephews are in school, right? It's so terrifying. And living in Pennsylvania, Jillian, do you remember that shooting that happened with was it an Amish school?
It was an Amish school. Honestly, the thing that like sticks with me, this is, I'll tell the story to tell people how much this matters. But I was at our synagogue, and it was actually during my son's naming ceremony. And as my son was getting his Hebrew name, the shooting at the Pittsburgh synagogue happened, and my rabbi had friends at that synagogue who were killed. So that when being in Pennsylvania, like that was rough. That was really rough to be there that day, and then to have her find that out, basically moments after, something that was absolutely beautiful, right? And then it gets shrouded in an awful event like that because we're allowing attacks like this to happen, and it's awful.
I don't understand why some people don't seem to care because it's not their child.
Yeah.
Because it's not their neighborhood. So
that's it's
important. it shouldn't be in any neighborhood. It shouldn't be anyone's child, not just the ones that we know, not just the ones that we're related to.
Yeah.
Why doesn't, where
No
is
children.
No.
And no children should go without lunch.
No,
I grew up.
you go to a grocery store and the grocery store can be shot up. You go to the bank, and the bank can be, it's anywhere. It is an insane tragedy when it's your child, but it's any of us, because the
concert in Vegas
and some places are open carry. You can be locked and loaded walking to the street, going to the grocery store.
I was going to say, I work at a school and I had to learn how to tourniquet and remove bullets and like do basically a field medic work. It's part of our job now. That's what we have to learn because we work at a school. And coming from Europe, it was such a learning, like it was such a shock that being an educator entailed for me to learn to be a field medic. Yeah. Because at the end, that's what I would have to do to make sure some people survive until the help comes. So yeah, it's any of us. We're all affected by it. Yeah.
Yep.
And Walsh and Harris, they both have guns. They don't want to take people's guns away, but they want to increase background checks and have laws in more states with the red flag laws. I mean, there are too many people that buy guns that have mental illness that should not be buying a gun, period.
Yep, exactly.
And, you know, people buying assault weapons. Why do you need an assault weapon in your house? Why?
You do not.
You don't. You just don't.
We should. I wish we had the statistics up on like Japan and Australia, and when they eradicated guns, it was like their
assault weapons. You know, you can still
assault weapons. You can sell the gun. Okay, but the crime went down, the deaths went down, murders went down. It's remarkable what a big difference it makes.
Yeah. You know, we're talking about this, and this is, I think, one of the most important subjects that needs to be taken care of over the next 4 years. Still, you know, unlike the other candidate running, you know, Kamala Harris has policy. She's got civility, right? As we said at the top of the show, qualifications. I know we've just been talking a lot about gun reform, but are there specific policies that stand out to you both that, you know, maybe you heard something during the debate that cement Kamala as your pick?
The tariff thing from Trump. We talked about that he doesn't think things all the way through, but even Mitch McConnell was like, no, tariffs don't work. I saw it on the news the other day. He believes in, what did he say? Open trade. Because the thing is, and I think a lot of people misunderstand this, and given some of the responses I've gotten from our October 3rd announcement of the women of Trek for Harris, is that they think the tariffs are going to bring them money. And they don't realize, they don't understand that cost for, let's say, China getting a tariff, they're going to pass it on to anybody who's importing it. And then obviously they're going to have whoever those businesses are or corporations are that bring in the products, they're going to have to pass that cost on to us.
Yep.
So it's going to cost more money for us. And they said that it would be, Kamala said it was like about $4,000 a year more for a 4-person family. And I think that's probably maybe leaning on the light side when I think about how much it costs to go to the grocery store.
It's been brutal. It's been absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, a jar of pasta sauce is like $7.
Yeah.
You know, it's
yeah. And that's when you're shopping for it. You're trying to find something that isn't $14 or $15. And you know what? This is us trying to recover from COVID still.
Right.
Don't you think? It hasn't been solved yet.
No.
I agree. I would probably lean toward the immigration policy and the fact that she made it clear that there was a bipartisan bill put on the table that would have addressed a lot of the issues that are concerning so many Americans, but it was a political move in order to squash the bill that would have made it safer for people to come into the country, made it simpler for people to get citizenship, status, because the people that are coming from other countries, a lot of them, because they have not had the benefit of what we've had and have access to in this country, they come with a very different work ethic. No one is escaping their oppressive nationality, their oppressive homeland to come here and just sit down somewhere waiting for a handout. They come, they start businesses, they work in neighborhoods, they do services that a lot of other people would never even want to do. They're very happy that some people come in and they're willing to take over certain jobs, not because this is all that they're qualified to do. Some of these people are lawyers, they are surgeons, they are political officers, they are civil workers, they have education. What they need is an opportunity, not for a hand out, but a hand up. And that was on the table. That was what was being put in place so that we can reduce the fear. We can reduce so much of the rhetoric and the misgivings and the misunderstandings about what is happening in this country. Because again, each and every one of us is an immigrant from some other nationality, some other country. And each of us is doing the best that we can, actually some more than others, some not doing the best that they can, to maximize the fact that we are blessed to be in this country. So if we can get a party, if we can get a legislation in position to actually pass a bill like that was already on the table, not come swooping in as though it was your idea after the fact, after you busted it up and made it impossible. And now that you're in office, you go, okay, look at this great thing that I have now done. It's like, no, that's the same bill, dude.
Yeah.
That's the same bill that you squashed. And now you're trying to put it through like it was your idea. Just like the Affordable Care Act. You know why it's not gone? Because it doesn't need to be gone.
Exactly.
It works.
Yeah.
It works.
You were president, but there was nothing you could do because it works. Yeah. And here it is, 8 years later, and the best you can do in the debate is like, well, we're thinking about what we can do that could possibly be better. Dude, what have you been doing?
A concept.
Concept
I have
of a plan.
Concept.
We're getting
concept of a plan.
An idea that we're going to set a meeting to discuss. Seriously? Come on.
Yeah.
You're at the debate. Know your information. Have an idea. Come to the table with some real stuff. And you know what kills? Does it not kill?
You guys are great. I love this.
And also, how about this? Does it make any sense to you?
Funny, Terry has to wipe her forehead.
I totally lost my train of thought.
I'm gonna help and ask a new question. Last question, because we want to be mindful of your time.
We can talk longer, can't we, Dawnn?
Honestly, I have another meeting to step into, but yes, please.
Oh, good for you.
We're mindful of everybody's time. We're usually late, so we're doing this for you. So for all of the people listening, and also for me, I was telling Terry that I cannot vote. I'm on a green card, so I'm an immigrant. But I live here, and all these policies affect me directly. So for all the people listening, and I know that a good amount of us are going to be on the call next week on October 3rd. What can we do to prepare for the election and make sure that everybody can vote in 40 days?
You know what, it's so scary to me, but Jerry Ryan got kicked off the registry. So when I heard this, I went and double checked mine. I live in New Mexico, so I double checked mine. And then I also had them send me an absentee ballot because it made me nervous, thinking, what if they kick me off? What if they kick me off after I've already checked it? So now I have that coming. But then I had a woman who came and knocked on my door, a Harris supporter. And she said, you know what? Don't worry about that. You can vote early. And she gave me a little pamphlet on how to vote early. And I haven't had anybody else, come to my door. But I live in a real kind of rural area. So I thought it was pretty amazing that she came to my door. I think you have to look at the state you're in and, look at where to vote. Your DMV, you can always go to your DMV, but I'm lucky in New Mexico, they're pretty quiet here, but in Los Angeles, they're very busy.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, welcome to America.
Thank you.
We do better with all different points of view.
Yeah, I agree with Terry. The important thing is make sure that you are registered. Don't take anything for granted. And now is the time to do that. Because if there's anything janky with your registration, or you thought you completed it only to find out that it wasn't completed thoroughly or it wasn't submitted correctly, now is the time to find that out. I think it's important that we do what we can to encourage others to vote, to encourage others. I don't tell anyone how to vote, but I tell people, please pay attention, please listen, and with a conscientious heart, decide what kind of country you want to live in. Listen to what is being said to you, and then fact check. Don't just go by emotion.
Yes.
Don't just go by whoever is spouting the same thing you spout, because that's the easiest thing to do. If you really want to do right by this country, if you really want to do right by the people who gave their lives so that we could even vote, people of color. It wasn't that long ago that we weren't allowed to vote. Women, it wasn't that long ago that we weren't even allowed to vote. America, it wasn't that long ago. And we're hearing other countries who are boldly making statements. They're going to do everything in their power to disrupt our election. You have to be conscientious. And a no vote, well, I'm not going to vote because I don't believe in either side, is a vote for destruction.
Gotta vote. Gotta vote.
You are voting.
Yeah, because it's not just a privilege. It is a responsibility. For us to maintain the integrity of our democracy. We have to vote, and we have to vote for someone, I believe, that has the Constitution and law in mind. And she does.
She does.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. You know what I tell people? I was like, look, if you're really for the other dude and you're really against her, I tell you what, if she wins, when she wins, I want you to divorce yourself from everything she sets up to benefit other Americans. Okay? Since you are so against everything that she's about to do, so you don't believe any of it. So I invite you that when she gets abortion rights turned back to Roe v. Wade, that you go ahead and you force your wife to have a child that she's not ready to have. Yeah. You force your daughter who just got molested to have that baby. You do everything in your power not to participate in anything that is designed to benefit all Americans. If you do that, then I believe you actually believe what you are saying. If you can't do that, then you're just making noise to make noise, and you are showing your heart. You are showing your true character.
Preach.
Okay, so that much of a problem for you. When stuff starts going down, you just say, you know what? I don't want a tax break. You know what? Nah, I don't want to be able to retire and have a home. Nah, I don't want affordable care.
Yeah, don't send me that child tax credit.
Please don't.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah.
And you know what? It's crazy. And also, he would take away lunch in schools. How about that? I grew up poor.
Yep.
We had to have, and then in the 60s, they weren't even kind enough to give you the same color lunch ticket. Everybody knew you were a government subsidized lunch ticket. I was just happy to get hot lunch. Yeah. But it's also a shamefulness. It's like nobody should feel they should have breakfast and they should have lunch and they should be healthy.
Yep. And they should be able to afford to get a college education.
100%.
That was the thing she said about support for college students and tuition and being able to get some of that money back, because education these days is inordinately expensive.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It absolutely is.
Everyone should be able to afford education, and it should start to matter about jobs. I mean, also, can we talk about, oh, now my dogs are going to bark.
That's okay. That's okay.
We like dogs.
We do like dogs, but I
love dogs.
We have 2 dogs. We do need to wrap up though. So another time.
Dawnn has
and
an
I think
appointment.
Dawnn has an appointment. I think we're going to hear you as well on October 3rd, which is absolutely amazing.
We invite all of you.
Please
come. Please join us. Please join us. Ask questions.
Yes. And even if you have different points of view, but please
Absolutely.
be kind and be a grown up.
Exactly.
Put your big girl pants on.
Right.
If you're not part of our team to begin with and you're curious, we invite you. We love you there, but we want you to be kind and courteous and ask questions in an adult manner.
Yep.
In a respectful way. Yeah.
In a respectful way. Exactly.
Absolutely. You could find all the information about the October 3rd call at womenofstartrek.com. We put the link in the chat, which has just been hopping tonight. Everybody's loved what you've had to say. So Terry, Dawnn, an absolute pleasure to speak to you about this election. And I think personally, probably the most important election in our country's history. So thank you. Dawnn, I know you have somewhere to be. Before we let you go, I just have to ask you a very quick question because I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you about Lower Decks' 5th and final season. 4 weeks from today, it premieres. It means a lot to our podcast. I said off mic, first show that we started reviewing. I just want to know how you're feeling as the show comes to a close and, wrapping up in 10 short weeks.
Well, our feeling is that it ain't over till it's over. We may be done on Paramount, but the folk who watch our show, they are not happy that Paramount is closing its doors. But just know, Paramount is going through its own changes right now. So your support, your viewership, you're taking this journey with us as we take our zany humanity through the galaxies. You've watched each of us grow. You've watched each of us grow. You've watched each of us stretch. And there's so much more story to tell because that's the beauty, I believe, of the entire Trek franchise. It speaks of diversity. It speaks of inclusion. It speaks of excellence. It speaks of in putting everyone in a position to do their best and be their best and work collectively. And that was Mr. Roddenberry's vision since the early 60s. And that's who we can be. Shows like Lower Decks, Deep Space Nine, Discovery, Strange New Worlds, TNG, you name it. The heart of it is this is how we can do this together. Different cultures, different genders, different age groups, different pieces of space. We can all occupy this together with a common goal of humanity. And I believe that's the heart of this election. We need a common goal of humanity. So season 5, buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride.
We can't wait. Can't wait.
And I'm telling you, you're going to get to episode 3 and you're going to watch 1 and 2 all over again because you're just going to want to make the whole thing last longer. But your letters, your support, your inquiries, all of your posts make it more and more real every day that we're going to land on our feet somewhere else so that the saga will not be done. The saga shall not be done.
Yes, we love to hear that. Lower Decks, let's go 4 weeks from now. Also, make sure that you see Terry and Dawnn October 3rd, womenofstartrek.com. All the information is there. We are going to take a very quick break. When we come back, Hawk's going to join us. We're going to do our review of Star Trek Prodigy, Ascension Parts 1 and 2. Terry, Dawnn, thank you so much again. And have a great call on October 3rd. And Harris 2024, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for inviting me too. Dawnn, super nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Live long and prosper. Yes.
All right.
Wait,
Yes.
long
And anybody who thinks Star Trek isn't political doesn't know Star Trek.
Doesn't know Star Trek. Absolutely.
This is what? A V?
A V.
Oh.
V for
Vote.
Vote.
That's right. We will be right back, guys. Stick around. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Before we go any further, I just have to say a couple of quick thank yous to Kitty Swing, Marty Grossman, and obviously Amy Imhoff for helping to put this together, along with Giraffe too, who actually made this whole thing happen along with them. So thank you to all of you. This was just incredible. I don't really know another way to put it. We're going to do a very quick debrief on this. I mean, Hawk, I want to get your thoughts first, man. You were in the background. Like, what did you think?
I just...
The Canadian Bureau.
The Canadian Bureau.
They hit all the right, talking points as far as why this is, the most important election in American history. And they did it beautifully. They did it eloquently. They didn't have to go low. They didn't even have to mention his name pretty much throughout the entire thing.
Truth.
I loved it.
Good.
Yeah. And if you're on the sidelines, don't be. Come on.
Yep.
Use your head, people.
Yeah. How are you guys feeling? Giraffe, MC?
Oh, MC.
That was fantastic. They're both so passionate about this. It absolutely comes through, and I think the call is going to be incredible, because this is just like a small taste of what it's going to be. So I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I just want to take a moment for a quick PSA, because this is a time-sensitive thing, and we are an international podcast. If you are an American citizen if you are an American citizen, you're able to vote in the United States election, no matter where you live in the world. So go to votefromabroad.org. The deadlines are coming up for requesting ballots, but going to votefromabroad.org, you will be able to find exactly the information you need to actually get your ballot. All you need is whatever your previous address was in the United States. So
nice. How you doing, Giraffe?
Huh?
Oh yeah, I think they send you a ballot.
Yeah, they send you a ballot? How does that work?
Well, at this point, you request your ballot through email, and they will send it to you through email, and then you can send it back. And depending on what state it is, you can send it back through email or you can send it back through the mail, but do it quickly because you want your vote to be counted. And that's actually been a legal issue today about them possibly throwing out ballots that arrive late in certain states.
That's
Sorry,
right.
I don't want to make this go on too long.
No, it's important information.
I'm just curious. Yeah. Because I vote from abroad and it's not the same thing at all. We actually go and put things in a box, which is fun.
Nice.
Yeah, it was they hit several points that were very important to me. You know, when we're talking about immigration, sure there are a lot of immigrants that are escaping countries, but there are a lot also of people like me who come from stable country and choose to live here. And very often people tell me, well, why don't you leave? You have the luxury to live. And it's true, I do, but all my friends are here, the people I love are here. And even if I leave, like what, I just all leave you behind, we just all buy an island and go together. Like, I mean, like
I'll go in on an island. That sounds nice.
No, but it's interesting to think, like, sure, Americans are voting, but I don't know the percentage of people in the United States who are immigrants or permanent residents or visa holders, but I think there are a lot of people. And all these policies affect us. Like, I pay taxes, I contribute to society, I educate your kids. A lot of the service industry is held by immigrants. A lot of the tech industry is held by immigrants, and we're all here in the right, and we have no say. So if you don't know what to vote for us.
Yeah.
Like, give us a voice. And as I talked briefly about it, but I just got surgery, and a surgery that I would not be able to get if, they got their way with that Project 2025, and a surgery that I would not be able to get in many other states right now. And I think that the policy that is the most important to me, but should be to everybody, is women's rights. This country has gone backwards since I've arrived here. And it's scary to think that I may just be left bleeding on the table because some guy in a suit, like Dawnn was saying, just decided that I couldn't get care and then I'd be dead. And that's terrifying to know that so many women have already died and nobody seemed to be really offended by this. So, yeah. Women's rights are human rights.
Fucking A, like 100%. I also want to say, like, good on you and holy crap, like, power to you for being here tonight, because you just got surgery.
I may not be, like, I've been unwell.
Yeah, you are so strong, and I'm like thankful that you were here tonight. So drugs,
It's
baby,
all thanks to drugs.
I have to say,
medical grade drugs.
Oh, you're in California, so it doesn't matter anyway. But
true.
I just want to say first that I think it's incredible that Dawnn and Terry had never met before this. So we just made Star Trek history on Strange New Pod. And to hear the two of them, two people who've never talked before, talk about something so important together was, as I said before, just simply incredible. I know it's a big deal also for Giraffe and I. She works in a school. I have kids in school. I live in a very red area. Like, it's scary to send my kids to school every day because of guns, and that is a major topic, and I'm glad that they talked about it with such passion. And I have to I don't know if Terry's going to listen to this, but I didn't get to say it to her live, and I said it to her after we finished that. I just want to thank her for sharing that story, because that had to have been really difficult for her. So get out and vote. please, and join the call on October 3rd, womenofstartrek.com. I'm going to put it in the chat again in a second. It is going to be absolutely incredible. The names I listed at the top of the show, and I believe there's also going to be a word from Kate Mulgrew during that. You don't want to miss it. So, yeah.
Oh, and also volunteer if you can.
Yes, volunteer. I did a phone bank. It was rough, but it was worth it. I changed a couple of people's minds, and Canvas. You don't think you're doing something until you do it, and then you feel really good about, making a difference. So
podcast.
If you're pissed off that we took a stand, deal with it. Yeah.
We're a Star Trek podcast.
We're a Star Trek podcast. Right.
We actually believe in the beliefs of Star Trek.
Yeah. Oh, man. Good. Are we ready to talk some Star Trek Prodigy?
Yeah.
I'm going to bow out and go back to... I won't say that on the podcast.
No, please don't.
But I will go in a fetal position and survive yet another day.
Everybody give a big round of applause to Draft for sticking it out tonight. You rock.
I wanted,
and for organizing everything.
Yes, and for organizing everything.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye,
Love
Giraffe.
you.
Love
Go
you.
vote.
Go vote. Matt Harker brings up a very good point, and this is the last I'll say about it, and then we'll actually talk about some Star Trek. Julian's County is a flippable. Every effort counts. Yeah, I was saying to Terry, I live in Bucks County, which is very much considered the swing county of like the entire election. Pennsylvania is important, and Bucks County is incredibly important. It's wild. Yeah, go vote, like she said. But right now, Star Trek time. Ascension Parts 1 and 2. These two episodes are like a mini movie. I watched them again today, and like, holy crap. These episodes are like, it had been a while since I watched these because we've done so many of these now. So they were kind of fresh again, which was nice. I haven't had so much of that feeling doing the other reviews, but this was like fresh to watch again. So it's our review of Ascensions Parts 1 and 2. Our order tonight will go Hawk, MC, followed by myself. Ascension opens up with this personal log from a very like introspective Dawnn, which was really neat. Things are starting to get back to normal. The living construct's been removed from the Protostar by Binars. Binars have a cameo in this episode. It's great. Rock and Tyces are figuring out a way to send the ship back in time. Janeway and Chakotay are canoodling. It's just, it's a happy-go-lucky Voyager again. What do we think about this brief log and opening, Hawk?
I love that calm before the storm, because we knew there's still about 5 more episodes after this, but I love that they bring us to this point. It's like everybody's kind of working together. They got the Protostar back. They're trying to formulate a plan about sending it back to the past, to Tars Lamora. You see Rock and Tyces working together on the figuring that out. Again, the fact that this was from Dahl's perspective, and he had, we'll talk about this obviously in a bit, but he's definitely changed. You can see that, in the tone he takes with the log and that little survey of everything in that. Like I said, this is the calm before the storm.
Yeah, 100%. MC?
I mean, just from the very beginning, you get kind of this different tone with Dahln, because it was just a couple episodes ago that the other characters were fighting with him about him doing a captain's log, and in this it's very specifically Dahl's personal log, and that really stood out to me because it was kind of, he's had this experience now where he's seeing the brief view of the future, so he's now feeling a bit uncertain of himself, and so I think this is him starting to build to what we'll see at the end of the season with him, and it really kind of stood out to me. I did like that they did very quickly dispose of the living construct thing, where it's like, oh no, we can't have that be an issue.
Yeah, right.
This big thing that was a problem throughout all of season 1. It's like, oh no, that ship is back now. We can't have that. The Binars did it.
Yeah.
Binars.
Which, I'm glad. It's always nice to see the Binars.
Yeah. Binar love.
But yeah, it was a very quick kind of, that's, the hand waving thing.
Yep. A good hand wave is good.
And yeah, good hand wave. We like it. And Janeway and Chakotay canoodling. again, we talked about this last week where it's like they never say outright that they're a couple, but oh my God, are they so a couple?
Right.
Like there's no mistaking it.
No, there really isn't.
It's just that, like, even if they didn't expressly say it in that, it's like the two of them together through so many years, and after everything they've been through in that, maybe it's even a level of friendship that goes beyond like love and that, it's just
like John Luke and Guinan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
John Luke and Guinan, they hooked up.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Wow. I've never thought that ever.
Maybe.
Huh. Interesting take, MC. We'll have to unpack that sometime. Hawk, I loved what you said about this being the calm of the storm, because Dahl's captain's log actually reminds me of a scene from Nemesis where Picard is doing a walkthrough of the Enterprise before like they're gonna attack Shinzon and the Scimitar. And it's just like a very, like, it's a good log. He's actually got like a smile on his face. He's interacting with his crew. And this log was like very reminiscent of it. Obviously, they don't know that they're going into war, and John Luke does, but it was still very much like kind of reminiscent of that scene. And I thought that was really cool. So that opening continues with a focus on Dahl, right? Who might have found his place with, is it Red Squad or Nova Squad? I always mix it up. Yeah, it's Nova Squad. Who is invited by Miguel, which is just like, I love that. Dahl's really grown. Like we talked about early on in the season, Dahl being back on his bullshit. Like Dahl has grown like tenfold just in 5 episodes yet again, right, Hawk?
Yeah, definitely. Like the fact that when he's stepping through and that to see like the Nova Squadron, I was like, why wasn't this one of his pursuits to begin with? We've seen him like as in these kinds of those situations before, and that we know he's a good flyer. That whole thing with the maze and that he ended up navigating. It's nice that he kind of takes a step back from that whole thing about him being the captain and that, and it's like there are opportunities there for me. He just needs to engage or needs to find out. I love seeing the Nova Squadron back, and that the Boothby maneuver is
the Boothby starburst, right?
Lifted the ban, and now it's like part of standard training. Maybe is it part of standard training? For
I
them
think
now?
no. So I think it was a different maneuver. It was like called like the Colbert
Starburst.
So unless Boothby was like, let these kids do it, and then Starfleet was like, well, we can't have the name attached, so we'll give it your name. And
if I remember correctly, isn't the Boothby Starburst the move that wasn't standard, and that's why they weren't going to see it coming?
Yeah.
This is why I had said, like, if it was non-standard training, maybe this is something the cadets work on privately still, because obviously,
because why not get kicked out of Starfleet Academy? Yeah.
I'm good. MC.
So I'm going to teach you how to tell the difference between Nova Squadron and Red Squadron.
Ooh, I like
Red Squadron is red because they're all dead from the Dominion War.
That's
dark.
Lizard babies?
Oh, that's the wrong thing, but it works too.
I want to know what the hell is going on.
There it is. Oh man. Wow. Yeah. What else you got?
I do think that Dahl would make a fantastic member of Red Squadron like this. No, I just didn't.
That's my fault.
Nova Squad. Because he does seem to have that kind of, almost swashbuckling, like pilot, like the Tom Paris kind of mentality, which Tom Paris getting name checked in this was really nice, that he's the one who designed all of this stuff, because of course he did. Tom Paris does everything.
He does. He's even on a plate.
And I love it.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think for Dahl, as much, Dahl has not found his place in Starfleet yet. And I think that's something that he's going to be going through, God willing, in season 3. We've been seeing this through this season, and I think this is why we were getting so frustrated with him early on, in that, he wasn't studying. He wasn't kind of appreciating this opportunity that he was being given, and he was just kind of, in his way, still on the Protostar. And I think like that's the thing. It's he hadn't figured out who he was. And that's completely understandable because he's this kid who, for his entire life up until he ended up on the Protostar, was, either essentially a slave or actually a slave. And, it's only in season 1 that he finds out even what species he is, or what his origin is. So kind of he's going through this journey of self-discovery. And I think if he were given more time, he might come to the idea of, being a member of Nova Squad and, being a pilot. But then by the end of the season, he's in a position where he's going to become, number 1 on the Prodigy. And they don't have a pilot on that ship, right?
It's kind of Jankum, kind of.
He's the engineer.
I think he also pilots. I think he's kind of a giant, but still, yeah, I get it. I get where you're going.
I think it might end up being Dahl more, which I'm here for.
And he's one thing, like with Dahl and that, in what he's lacking in any sort of academic sensibilities, he more than makes up for in that he has that overdeveloped fight or flight response. And in his case, it's always fight. It's like he never second guesses any danger in that. Any dangerous situation, he always jumps right in. Like we saw that with Chakotay and that, and saving him from the swirling mists back on that planet. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great that they name drop Tom Paris, because Dahl is shaping up to be one of these kind of renegade, almost like a Roller and a Tom Paris. I dare I say even a little bit Christopher Pike, because Pike was a test pilot before he went into command. You have to be able to be a little bit crazy and take some risks. This is a guy who let Erica Ortegas, pilot the Enterprise into a black hole. So, Pike can definitely take some risks, and Dahl has no problem taking risks. I mean, he tried to fly a junker into space in the very first episode of the show. So the dude has skills. That is not in question. So I really like this a lot. So meanwhile, in sickbay, Zero gets kind of a bad news, good news situation from the doc, right? Their body can't recover, but advances in tech will make new Zero body be able to have senses and feeling, which is really cool. But they also are I don't want Daystrom involved in this. Just let Jankum do it. Jankum's going to do a much better job. Did we all see this moment coming, though? That Zero wouldn't have this new body forever, Hawk?
I think this was always kind of apparent from that episode, and that in learning that in order to maintain this body meant having to live on that planet, because the planet was the only way that the body could regenerate. It's the same thing with the Sona back in Star Trek Insurrection and that, people
that still kills me. That still kills me that they didn't let Geordi keep his eyes, though. Just saying.
I know. Yeah, it hurt a lot of us, but yeah, we knew this moment was coming for Zero for a while, and they've accepted it so graciously, right? It's they're mourning what the loss of the senses and that, but at the same time still optimistic, because they know that they have friends like Jankum Pog and that there is always another option. Yeah. And actually, it's weird because it's we talk the Doctor. The Doctor is a great example of that. And the Doctor started out as just a simple AI, and that evolved and eventually, found a way to, gain agency outside of a holodeck, and that with that mobile emitter.
I got to say, again, I don't like that the Doctor still doesn't have a rank. If he's able to move around between ships and stuff, it's time to make him a legit officer, Starfleet. Come on.
I think he's got way too many side projects and side passions.
He's I don't want to be held down by the strict rules of Starfleet.
I'm not going to be an admiral in that. Admirals are subjects to bureaucracy and desks and everything and that. He wants to write opera.
He's got the emergency command subroutine, though. So that's basically taking the bridge test. He should have a rank.
I agree. MC.
Yeah, no, I totally saw this coming as soon as they said that, that Zero could not survive off of the planet. And I don't like it. First of all, because I think it's kind of bullshit that they can't do anything. Like the doctor was kind of just like shrugging his shoulders about it, and it's like, no, I'm sorry, but if you're the doctor who like did freaking amazing things while stranded in the Delta Quadrant for a good deal of time where he couldn't leave sickbay, and you're just going to kind of shrug your shoulders when you're on one of the most advanced ships. And I believe Voyager is a science ship.
It is a science,
well.
yes. And it's got like a dozen classrooms or something, and like labs, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like this isn't something that you're going to, in an afternoon, like give up on, actually healing the body that Zero has. There's lots of things that can be done. I mean, I know we always make jokes about the pattern buffer, but the pattern buffer, like just, just put them in there until you don't even need to
put Zero in the pattern buffer. You could like eject Zero from the body, put the body in the pattern buffer, and try and figure something out and give them a temporary body like the suit while you're trying to figure out. But yeah, like just to shrug it off.
Yeah. Or like the whole thing is I've never really understood how the transporter could not like heal kind of stuff like that, because I mean, it was just the fact that he had broken bones. Like, are you telling me the transporter can't heal broken bones?
Yeah.
Like it's, taking people apart and then putting them back together. So, I mean, I know like that's
the journey.
I'm a writer. I'm a writer. I understand. It's like we need to have this kind of stuff happen because this is the character growth for Zero, but it really stretches credibility sometimes. And also, I mean, first of all, Zero's really cute in that body, and I feel bad saying that because Zero's a teenager. At least I assume so.
I don't know
Zero's
how old Medusa's are.
It doesn't. I don't know. Because they're Medusan to begin with. I mean, they age differently, right?
So, okay, then maybe I don't feel bad.
You shouldn't feel. I don't think you should feel bad.
But yeah, this whole story of Zero being corporeal, I feel was condensed a little too much for my taste. I think that if we were going to get and I mean, it works. They do have the big heroic sacrifice in this episode, and it's very dramatic and everything, but I kind of would have preferred if that had happened in the last episode of this season.
Yeah. I have to say I agree with you too about the doctor just kind of shrugging it off. Like, this is a dude who volunteered to have his pattern basically put in a zip file to go all the way back to Earth to cure an uncurable disease in the guy who created him. Like, best doctor, like, dare I say in chat, you can let me have it if you want, a better doctor than Dr. Crusher, a better doctor than Julian Bashir, and that says a lot because Bashir did some wonders too. Bones was drunk half the time, so I don't know. That's not true. I'm just being mean. I love Bones. Like,
I mean, like, the thing is, the doctor wasn't just the doctor. He was the entire medical staff.
Yeah,
sometimes he would have like Paris or Cass helping out,
right,
but he was it.
He was, and just did remarkable things. So it's a bit of like a really, guys, but it does lead, like you said, to the heroic sacrifice, which we'll talk about later. Very quickly, another JC Forever moment. There's just a really beautiful scene here, brief, between Chakotay and Janeway about, reminiscing about the good old days about Voyager and how their journeys on Voyager and Chakotay's journey on the Protostar very much paralleled each other, going through time to save a ship. And I love the reference also to alternate Admiral Janeway who saved them, right? Like, she got a name drop in this. Thoughts on the scene? Because I it's not a lot, but I loved it, Hawk.
It was brief, but it was that intimacy I was talking about with the characters, and that, like I said, it goes beyond friendship, goes beyond love, and that getting him ready for his debrief, and that referencing how the last time they saw that the pip
badge,
the badge, was the last day they were on the Voyager, right?
Yeah.
And that their journeys really have kind of come full circle in that. They've both shared similar experiences. Her going back in the past as her older self, and that to save her younger self. Him giving up like 10 years of his life on that island just to keep that out of the hands of you keep that weapon out of the hands of the people who would destroy the Federation. Him almost losing his mind like there, and then to come back and have it all feel so familiar and yet still a little strange. Like you could see she was trying to really give him a pep talk, you know, and it's like, you are home.
Yeah. MC.
Okay, so 2 times is a line, not a pattern. But is Chakotay cursed to be Ulysses?
Oh, wow. I mean, damn, maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, like, he was stuck in the Delta Quadrant for 7 years, and then he was stuck on that planet for 10 years. So that's 17 years of Chakotay's life.
Wasn't Ulysses by himself the whole time, though?
He was not. No, he had a crew.
He did have a crew. That's right. That's right.
They got turned into pigs.
Yeah. Yeah,
but it's a very beautiful scene.
So war begins because you can't have a Star Trek season without a little bit of war. Jellicoe is nice for like a second. 1 second. He's like, Chakotay, you're back. It's great. And then it's like Starfleet is taking the Protostar and orders them back home to be seized by like the very incompetent folks at Temporal Investigations. But as Janeway and co prepare to go home, they're going to actually follow orders because Tysus is like, we really can't do this to Starfleet again. And Chakotay, we've talked about Chakotay playing it safe all the time. He's like, yeah, we got to go home. But they can't because Voyager receives a distress call from Ilthuron. What I can never pronounce it. Ilthuron, who warns Janeway of Essentia, who seized power on Solum. She interrupts the comms, right? Like I think she takes out Ilthuron and comes down. And does her whole like supervillain speech, leading to a big nod that I'm sure MC had to have noticed. It's a beautiful nod to Star Trek 2009 with the ship coming out of the portal to the very little Kelvin, or in this instance Voyager and the Protostar, and starts a war. Thoughts on the beginnings, I guess, of this conflict, Hawk?
That was pretty amazing. And again, like I got to do with every episode, a shout out to the animators because that was beautiful. Not only in like how the direction it took, the nod to 2009, it was great. And we had talked I think previously about like how clever this was with Essentia. The last time we saw her was probably episode 3 or 4 of the series.
I think it was a little bit after that. I think it's when she wins the fight against Gwen, and that's I think it.
It's still that's pretty early.
It is. You're right.
In the series, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's probably we haven't seen her since 4, and then all of a sudden, boom, she is back, and like not only back, but like with technology that is just mind blowing to Starfleet. They don't know how she could do this, how she could set up a factory system and that with these domes that accelerate time. So that what would take months, it only takes mere hours and to basically build her an armada. And of course, she comes in like full villain monologuing. Didn't she say it to Janeway?
She does. She goes, reporting for duty.
For duty, Captain.
It was good.
This was a great villain entrance. And like, if you kind of were sleeping on Essentia and that, you definitely aren't at this point.
Truth. MC?
I remember when we were doing our season review, I was a little
you were a bit hard on Essentia.
I was a bit hard on Essentia, yeah. And I was trying to figure out why. And I think I've actually figured it out. I do think I was too hard at the time, but I know why I was doing it now that I am able to like watch the episodes like individually. It is the fact that she was out of it from episode, I want to say it was 3, because Gwen, she didn't appear after Gwen left Solum. So it kind of to me does feel like those plan things where it's like step 1 fight Gwen, step 2 blank, step 3 blank, step 4 profit. So the fact that we don't check back and see things that are happening with Essentia does kind of like it, because for me I don't really understand how she was able to take over the entire planet. But I mean, she does have a wonderful villain entrance, which would be spoiled if she were in it at all beforehand. But they could have also just at least put in a reference to Solemn about trying to reach out to them and maybe not being able to get in contact with them because they were, So yeah, I do think that just for me that I would have liked to have had a little bit more buildup.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just here for the 09 reference. Like I love that.
I mean, it was beautiful.
It was. Everybody knows that I'm just telling people this now so you can get excited for Trek Long Island. I think I already have approval for it. I am doing a panel at Trek Long Island 3, basically like a TED Talk of the first 15 minutes of Star Trek 09 because it is some of my favorite cinema ever. So look forward to that. So seeing that shot again and in Prodigy and in animation was just dope. It's always cool seeing like a lead up to like the big conflict. So this was just really cool. So no duh, right? Like everybody takes their stations. The attack is underway. The Solemn super weapon is just like bombarding the Protostar. So Chakotay takes command of his ship back, right? And he brings, which I thought was a beautiful moment. By the way, he's like, "You're the crew of this ship. I was the captain. Like we're gonna go back." Janeway always needs more torpedoes, and Dahl and the Nova fighters, we mentioned this already, designed by the one and only Tom Paris, enter the arena with Dahl aboard one and Majel in the lead. Pretty awesome action sequence ensues. I said earlier, like this was like a mini movie. Leading the fighters and the Protostar getting target acquisition for Voyager. And when it looks like Janeway's quantum torpedoes are about to break through, the enemy drone fighters create like almost like a Tholian web, right? And take the brunt of the quantum torpedoes. Thoughts on just like what was incredible, like cinema-like action, Hawk?
This was a lot to unpack, because like at this point, remember the kids were pretty much like they thought, this is the end. This is the end of the road for us. We're all going back to Starfleet. They're going to take over. What's going to happen? Dahl ended up being kind of the voice of reason for them, wasn't he? Again, another thing of, another kind of example of the maturity he's been going through. But yeah, the action in this was just crazy. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but I got like a real Revenge of the Sith kind of vibe on that.
Oh, like the beginning with the Battle of Coruscant. Yeah,
exactly. Like seeing them in the because Star Trek, we see like kind of Armada style battles and that big ships attacking big ships and that. We don't get a lot of the small fighter action, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
this is where the fun begins.
Exactly. This whole thing was just kind of a marvel to watch. The direction was fantastic. The overwhelmingness of the situation and that, like watching both these episodes was like the most tense I've ever been. Like watching any Prodigy episode. There was an actual palpable feeling that they might not everybody's getting out of this alive, are they?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, MC.
Wow, hockey basically took almost everything I was going to say. And it's surprisingly talking about ships. I am not a ship person. Like we know this about MC. But I love me a one-person fighter.
Yeah.
X-Wings are the sexiest ship, just bar none.
All right.
And
I'm going to go with TIE interceptors, but to each their own.
No. And I just love that we get to have an actual like battle in Star Trek with one person fighters, because like I said, we don't really get this all that often, and I feel like we should get it more because it does it makes a lot of sense that you should send small ships out, and it amps up the tension because when it's a giant spaceship and your whole main cast is on the bridge, you're you gotta feel pretty secure that they're okay.
Yeah.
But if you're putting all of your characters in individual little ships, like, I mean, I'm sure we all felt pretty good that nothing was going to happen to Dahl, but something very easily could have happened to Mijel. Like,
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So a lot of magic goes into a sequence like this, and pretty much like the rest of the episode, right? The directing, like already mentioned, has to be beyond belief. Like to do this in animation, the sound design has to also be up there. These last few minutes of, I think it's like maybe like 7 minutes of the episode, really like blur the lines between live action and animation. Like this really felt like cinema with the camera angles, with the acting. The acting, has to be said, was like, the acting's already good in this show, but it was at another level in this. Things like continuity things in Star Trek that just make it feel real, like the Red Alert, like when Voyager goes to Red Alert, it being the same Red Alert like from the movies, right? And that Voyager 1 had, or the original Voyager. You know, Kate Mulgrew really getting into that like take no bullshit Janeway mode. Dahl being serious, like this was just marvelous. I have like a lot of feelings about this because, you know, when they gave the nod to 09, I'm like, oh wow, like this is going to be cinema. And it really was. Like, you know how Eric sometimes talk about like, man, I'd love to watch that on a big screen. Or guess what? I set up my projector and I did watch that on a big screen. Like these 2 episodes and maybe the finale, I would love to watch in a movie theater, because I think that would be, and yeah, humble brag, I have a great sound system. So to have the surround sound, like with all this going off, this was just a really dope 7 minutes of television. Hats off to everybody, animation team, sound team, acting, just everybody. Wow. So for our last couple of talking points here, I made some other television references. Surprise, it was Wesley all along. I have not watched Agatha all along yet. I plan to.
It's actually really good.
I've heard. So as the battle continues outside, it turns out Essentia has captured Wesley and is using him to siphon tactics, energy, and the power of time, right? Like getting like different like time scenarios from his head to make all of her weapons. Wesley also gets tortured into showing Essentia a future created by her weapon, which she then launches at Voyager because she sees a future where Voyager gets destroyed by it. It causes a massive hull breach, and it turns out it's some form of like chronometric timey-wimey weapon, right? I think they say exotic radiation a lot, which Tyses gets caught in and gets really old. We don't need to talk about this much, but I really want to say there's a moment during this episode where Tysus is in sickbay, and like Dr. No makes a joke, and he's like, "Oh, congratulations, you now have seniority," and I'm like, dude. I know you're a Tellarite, but like time and place. Damn. Thoughts on Wesley being captured and Essensia's, I guess, like crazy time weapon, Hawk.
Tellarite doctors rock.
Yeah, right.
This was another clever twist. You know, we hadn't seen Wesley since the end of episode 10. So, you know, throwing him back into the mix on top of Essentia was incredible. The fact that she captured him is and is somehow figured out how to use his powers and that to advance her cause. You know, it's like I part of me actually agrees with them, seeing that there was a lot happening on Solemn and that, like in between that time that we left it, right? But like again, this is where you feel so much tension. You know, it's like it was that chronoton weapon and that ages everything it touches, right down to metal, fat, everything. God, there was so much going on. Where was I? Yeah, and pumping Wesley for information about the future. Like, where does she come up with the technology to like harness that from a traveler? Like this part really amped up the stakes for the rest of the season, you know, and in the most kind of wonderful way. It really put Ascension on the map as far as like the villain of Prodigy. We kind of forgot about her, but like there was no way we're ever forgetting about her now, and she's doing all this from some other ship. Well, her big ship is like attacking Voyager.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, no, it definitely puts her on the map as like a big time Trek villain, right? Which she was kind of like maybe like a BC villain. Now she's like, oh shit, okay, yep. MC. Yep.
So the whole Ticey is getting caught in the chronometric weapon or whatever, and the doctor being like, it's just gonna take like a little bit of like gene manipulation or whatever.
I think you're telling me cerebrium treatments. I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. But you tell me he could do that, but he can't do anything for Zero, like in the same episode. Like it's just kind of infuriating. As for Ascension and Wesley, it was certainly surprising. And yeah, Ascension does, come off as one of like the big Trek badasses, but it again does tie with and I get that it's my own bug up my butt about, it seems like a lot of explanation is being sacrificed in favor of shocking moments, and the fact that that two happen in quick succession, where it's just like Ascension has taken over, and by the way, she also has Wesley. Maybe she's one of them. like maybe what they could have done is they could have built up that Ascension was quickly taking over on Zolom, and it's like we don't know how she's doing it, and the surprise, she's got Wesley, and that I would have been more okay with than having both of them being surprises. But as it is, I'm just kind of like, and I feel bad about saying it, because it's like, well, you're giving a female villain, a lot of flack for things that happen with male villains all of the time. But I just keep on wondering, but how?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a valid argument. Like, especially when you have a 20 episode season, you can definitely make room to have a meanwhile on Solom, not even a full episode, which I actually think would have been incredible, but a scene or two, right? Like, like a Pinky in the Brain showing the master plan, right? I think would have been good. Yeah, I agree.
Or, I mean, if you had wanted to maintain the surprise of one of them, like say you wanted to maintain the surprise of, Wesley, what if the beginning of the next episode you showed him getting caught?
Yeah.
Just an idea.
Yep.
Little flashback. Yeah.
I dig it. Here's another movie reference. We'll see if people get it. No sacrifice, no victory. With Zero being the only person who could possibly deactivate the weapon, they had to. Where was I going here? I wrote this outline in jumbles.
It was a busy day.
It was. Oh yeah, something about the shuttle pad and Nova fighters. I don't know. Anyway, time is running out. And the drones are guessing every of Starfleet's moves. So Dahl tries to start to do things to kind of like the non-Starfleet way, right? Like don't use your training. Be like me. Be a wild card.
Chaotic.
Chaos energy, making the drones unable to follow their movements. What do we think about Zero kind of being like, it's gonna be me, and Dahl kind of being like, again, kind of the voice of reason here, Hawk.
Yeah. A little bit of a Riker maneuver in this. It's like when Riker was faced with the same situation in that, with the attack of the Borg after they captured Picard. And Guinan gave him the same advice in that. If your enemy already knows your playbook in that, then you throw that playbook out and you write a new one. And this is where Dahl gets to shine. The drones were programmed with all the patterns of Starfleet maneuvers, and so if the enemy knows your every move and that, then be unpredictable. What was amazing was Majel, how quickly she caught onto it. If logic doesn't work, then the only course is to be illogical. Yeah. And this is what Dahl contributes, right? It's that. Like as I said before, he has that really great fight or flight response in that, but he also has a knack for improvisation. and it's a quality in that can make and break like different officers in Starfleet.
Yeah.
And in here it works out perfectly. As far, are we talking about Zero at this point?
You could talk about Zero kind of making the decision. We're going to talk about them a little bit more making the sacrifice in a second.
This is all the culmination of that, of their experience in the whole thing with the body. Yeah. It's like they gave them the body and that just to bring them to this point.
Yeah. MC.
Feel like I'm being really rough on this episode.
You're not. You bring up valid points.
Yeah, I am being very introspective about this episode. Is it just because the doctor is really busy in sickbay, or did they actually say something about why the doctor can't do it?
About why they can't...
The doctor can't take care of it.
It was actually a very good reason. Because of the energy, the hollow emitters in the shuttle bay had rusted over, so he wouldn't have been able to transfer over. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I couldn't remember
subtle,
if they had that in there.
When you on your third watch, you'll catch it.
Okay. Part of me feels like maybe they shouldn't have injured Zero, because we've, or maybe instead of, oh, there's nothing we can do, maybe the doctor should have healed Zero. And just, if Zero had to make the sacrifice in a body that he was going to be able to stay in. Because with the way they did things, I mean, maybe they did it this way so that they wouldn't scare kids too much in thinking that Zero was actually going to die.
Yeah.
But Zero knew that he had a body that they were going to be transferring him into another body, that this one that he was in was basically,
a plot device.
I don't want to say garbage, but it wasn't, it was a temporary situation. Like, they were going to have to move them very soon. But if they had been, perfectly fine, hale and hearty, then there would have been more of a sacrifice involved in it. And I mean, yes, it is still a sacrifice, but I kind of would have liked for them to have just made the play of, I am going to give up. I am the only person on board who can take care of this. I will have to give up my senses to do that. And then, of course, we do the scene where they end up back in like their own body. It would have had more impact for me.
Yeah.
I still consider it a sacrifice, because like the direction of how it all went down, and that, like, having basically a chronoton weapon, and that just rapidly aging the body at that point. It looked painful. It
absolutely did, but
Yeah.
But the body was breaking down. Like, we've seen that for the last, I think, 2 episodes, that they've not been moving around very well. So,
well, they continue to not move around well as they age and age and age inside this wave of, I love that they just didn't come up with a Star Trek, mumble jumble name and just called it exotic radiation. Zero tries to disarm it, but realizes that it cannot be disarmed or destroyed, and was designed, I think, also brilliantly, like another point to Essentia, to target Starfleet vessels. Mijel, thinking we might actually, like you said, Hawk, like not everybody's going to be safe, volunteers the Nova fighters and herself, like all lured away, who plan to pull off the Boothby supernova. The weapons in pursuit, it kind of like lurches itself out of Voyager, and the Flyers successfully pull off their plan, right? They lure right into Essentia's ship. They go up, the thing hits it. It goes up in a giant fireball. Everybody celebrates, and then we're also introduced to Zero 3.0. What do you think about the climax of this episode, Hawk?
The climax was another great, moment in the direction and animation of the show, because it was spectacular to watch, and like, kudos to Lieutenant Paris and the design of those ships, and that, like, having that smaller pod be able to break off while the machine is still targeting the one that. But yeah, with Michelle, that was, she was the target of the jeopardy, like that idea that was kind of lingering. It was like, they might not all make it out of this alive. For her to take it on that was incredible. Absolutely glad she survived, but even she thought it, Wesley predicted I had a purpose and a point in being here. And not knowing what that was still had no issue about making herself the target of the weapon. Said if you're going to die, at least die, protecting Starfleet, I believe she says at one point. Yeah. Great character. I love Michelle.
Hawk, it's so cute that you called him Lieutenant Paris.
They call it the lieutenant.
I know. MC.
So I have to say, as critical as I've been of Ascensia, I do really like the thing where the weapon can only target Starfleet vessels, because it fits so well with the training that Ascensia would have gotten, because Ascensia was sent back in time to, attack Starfleet specifically. And the living construct was meant to attack Starfleet. So it's almost like her faction was doing nothing but making things to target Starfleet. So that's what she's good at. And I really like that. And for me, it feels like a nod towards season 1. I might be reading too much into things, but I need to have a positive point, because I feel like I've been very rough this episode.
You actually haven't been as rough as you think. You've had a lot of good things to say about this episode. I think it's Zero and Ascensia have some issues, but other than that,
yeah. I love the Boothby Supernova. Just the idea of it, the name, of course, and 3.0. I miss 2.0.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
No, I
really
agree.
cute.
It was too soon. I know. I agree. Yeah, I feel like if you want to hear me talk about cinema, you can rewind the episode if you're listening later, 15 minutes or so, and I will go on a rant about how beautiful this episode is, because it is the cinematic nature of it. Even the way the lights flicker on Voyager with when the weapon is lurching out of it, right? It's like Voyager's in pain. It's just great storytelling. Mijelle's the actress who plays Mijelle is fantastic during this. It's just awesome. I just loved it. I loved everything about it. It was fantastic. I feel like I'm a shill right now, but I just don't have a lot of complaints about these 2 episodes. Does anybody did anybody know the bullet point, the movie I referenced with no sacrifice, no victory?
Is that Starship Troopers?
No. That's a good guess though. MC, you want to take a guess?
I don't know.
It's the Michael Bay Transformers, the Witwicky quote: "No sacrifice, no victory."
I already told you I've seen half of that movie, and I fell asleep.
That's fair. Dude, Caleb only got halfway through it too, so and he loves Transformers. So nothing stays the same forever. A quote from Chakotay here at the end. This is not a movie reference. Chakotay kind of knowing when Janeway isn't herself, right? They've spent a lot of time together and are intimate, so of course they do. And Ascensia is also realizing that Janeway and the Protostar are alone. Jellicoe, whether this is ulterior motives or he's being honest about the state of Starfleet, which I think is, I do, as much as we shit on Jellicoe, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt here, because we know what Starfleet went through in the season finale of Prodigy season 1. We know what they are going through because of Picard season 1 and season 1 with the Romulan refugee crisis. So the fleet, and the Dominion War also wasn't long ago. So days away for ships to come help doesn't actually seem that far from the truth. And Ascensia basically being yeah, they're alone. There is no cavalry coming to help. Janeway feels that, and Ascensia is going to prey on that. Not a lot here, but definitely sets up the second arc of these final 6 episodes. What do you think, Hawk?
Yeah, you can hear it. Like it's not just the fleet and that. He mentioned about like the outer worlds and that are reliant on like the Sung type androids and that just to keep like it everything going. So this is a Starfleet that is stretched to its limits and that not just in the ships, in personnel and everything. So yes, Jellicoe doesn't seem like Jellicoe, that guy we met all those years ago in TNG, and he might be even stretched a little too thin himself.
Yeah, because he does take that call, right? He's like, oh, by the way, another crisis to deal with. It's like what else is going on? Yeah,
and he sounds tired.
He sounds old. Yeah. I mean, Ronnie Cox is old, but he sounds old. I know, right? Like,
Forgive me, Ronnie. I thought you had died.
That's right. Oh man.
And then Ascensia, that even though like her plan was defeated at this point, and that she didn't seem angry or disappointed. She's like, I've learned a lot, despite you, that they are so stretched then that they are on their own and there's nobody coming to back them up.
Yeah,
I like that way, even though like they managed to defeat her at this battle, and that she's like, there's another battle coming. Again, great way of making her like a top tier villain for Star Trek.
Yeah. MC?
Even not taking into account like anything with Picard or with the Dominion War or anything else that goes on, or the first season of this, how many episodes of TNG had the main plot end with, and we're the only ship in range? Like it is Star Trek tradition.
It is.
So like I really like when somebody says it, I'm like, yeah, of course, space real big. But I did like that. Ascensia knows that, like, because well, I would have liked some more buildup. Ascensia is really great at relishing in being a bad guy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
In particular, is doing that in this, and it's wonderful. But yeah, it does set up the next episodes, and the fact that this is a two-parter, it really kind of, we have a lot of two-parters this season, and it seems like all of them are at very specific points where it's like, and now we're starting like the next storyline. It's all very important beats.
It's actually really interesting you said that, because in my opinion, these last 6 episodes should have been what they did. I've said this before with DS9. This should have been Ascension Parts 1 through 6. Like, this should have just been an ongoing, and it is, because next week on the pod we're doing 16 and 17 because they are a two-parter. Even though they're not, they are. This really just should have been like a real like I've been saying how this was very cinematic. Like, this should have been just a feature film at this point. Like, these are 6 episodes that all blend together.
Of course, when Deep Space Nine did it, they didn't have them as parts 1 and 2. They all had different titles.
No, they did. They totally did. You're right. But it was definitely like, didn't they even say it's like part 1 of 5, like, and with different titles? I feel like
that came later. That's like for episode guides. But I remember they all had different titles, because that was a question I got once on Trexperts quiz. It was one of the 7 of 9. There's like 6 episodes, and they're all different titled.
That's funny. Yeah, I really think that should have been it. But yeah, definitely sets up the next 2. Final thoughts on this one. We'll go in reverse order. MC.
Like I said, like, this is a huge episode, and it really does set up the rest of the season. And while I had my issues with certain character choices, it's good. It's good.
Nice. Hawk?
Yeah. Again, I kind of like these two-parters, and that it's like these episodes are very short. It gives you a lot of room with 20 episodes to work with to do those episodic little bits and that throughout the season. But these two-parters, in particular this one, like I said, nobody should have to feel this tense watching a children's show. Beautiful animation, beautiful, great writing. Maybe the characters didn't get exactly what they deserved, is zero. But overall it was great.
Yeah. We've talked a lot over the past few weeks about how it's been difficult to kind of like keep up with the Prodigy coverage because the hype was gone, right? Because they released it all at once. But as I said at the top of the show, like enough time has passed from when I watched these two to get to watch them fresh again was like super exciting. I was like, I've been in a mood today because between like setting things up for tonight and stuff going on with work, like I was just like, oh man, like I still gotta write like the outline. And then I put these episodes on. I was like, let's go. Like they're so good and the acting is so good and the team, you could see how much love the writing team and the entire Prodigy team as a whole put into these two. Flaws or not, which there definitely are some that we've talked about tonight. Just again, two absolutely fantastic episodes of Trek. So no subspace to pull because I was too busy to put one up today. And no one sent in mailbag, so no mailbag tonight. So that is going to do it for this one. Before we go, again, a big thank you to Kitty Swink, Marty Grossman, Amy Imhoff, Terry Farrell, Dawnn Lewis, Giraffe for setting up this amazing talk about the Women of Star Trek Call coming up next week. That was just
October 3rd.
Yes, October 3rd. And just an amazing conversation. If you came late to watch the show, please go back and listen because it's important. It's an important subject talking about this election. We'll be back next Thursday with our review of episodes 17 and 18, because again, they're very much a two-parter, whether they were listed as that or not, of Star Trek Prodigy. Just to give you a quick heads up of what is coming up. So that'll be next week. The following week will be our final Prodigy episode of the season. And the following week will be the week before Lower Decks, which means we will have our Lower Decks season 4 review show. We should start watching season 4 on the Discord very soon, so keep an eye out for that. We'll be giving away a copy. That's going to do it for this one. We will see you next week. For MC, for Hawk, for Giraffe, and for Terry and Dawn, live long and prosper. Majram, sarcastic Vulcan salute. Good night.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.